I want to give you this quantum cheat code in the field of energy, and we're going to call it 0-point wealth. Now, what exactly is the 0 point? Actually, in my Quantum Money Makeover course, the first module is on 0-point money calibration. Why? The 0 point is nothing. If I were to ask you right now to pretend, and I want you to do this, pretend as if you don't have a name, you don't have a race or ethnicity, you don't remember the town that you grew up in, you don't remember anything. Just pretend to be nothing. Blank slate. What are you? Energy. Consciousness. You see, what we just did was we stripped down the identity. Well, this is my name, and this is where I work, and this is where I live, and I'm in a relationship with this person, and I make this type of money. Okay, those are just aspects of a story that you're creating that have accumulated over time. So thus you get this character. Okay, we just stripped that down to nothing. Pure energy. So if everything is pure energy, raw consciousness, there is really no form. When you access the 0 point and you go into a formlessness, what happens? You actually become everything. Nothing is everything, and everything is nothing. How? Aaron, explain. That doesn't make sense. When we say nothing, we're saying no thing, no specific thing, no particular thing, no specific identity, not a woman or a man, consciousness, no thing, not good or bad, not poor or wealthy, not sick or healthy. We're saying no thing. It collapses into nothing, no identity. Now, when we collapse into no identity, we enter the quantum womb. Yes, the quantum womb, the void from which everything is born. So when people say everything derives from the darkness, we're not talking about darkness as in a shadow bad self. We're talking about the void, which is pure consciousness. So it would be absent of sound. It would be absent of light. It would just be pure energetic potential, which is what source in its original, most ancient state, timeless state, is just nothing. Now, this nothingness holds the potential for every single possibility within creation and existence. So it's everything simultaneously. Now, I want to make this make sense and ground it into reality. I just told you, in truth, you are nothing. And simultaneously, in truth, you are everything. There's something you're doing with your identity in your current reality, which is you are attached to something that you believe about yourself. The only way that you're going to get out of that story, begin reprogramming that story, begin neutralizing that story, is if you go into your nothing, aka your everything. I want to ask you right now, what's something you're entertaining? Well, I'm not good enough. I don't have a job. My business is failing. Those are all very specific forms that you're choosing to create. And by the way, it doesn't matter. Source reality itself is not judging you. No one really cares because it's temporary. So you don't have to judge yourself for creating those realities. But what I'm doing is I'm pulling you out of the delusion of those conditions and circumstances that you keep perpetually entertaining and thus generating from your consciousness. We're going to go into our I am. We're going to go into our nothing. Well, if I'm nothing, you see how those things just dissolve? So now that I'm in my nothing, everything becomes available. This is what true 0-point wealth is. It's that every possibility, every frame of existence, every slot within time and timelessness exists inside of my consciousness. And I am simply selecting and activating which forms, which energetic potential I am commanding into form. You see, energy is just in a state of potential. until you as the creator command it into form. You've been commanding things into form because you don't know how to consciously mold energy. There's a reason why when we decode the etymology of the word abracadabra, avracadabra, I create as I speak, ancient high white magic, everything that I say is a command for the universe to shift and rearrange energy into a certain picture, holographic frame of existence. You've been doing this unconsciously. When you know that no form that's presenting itself is really you, you become infinitely, unconditionally free. This is why this is so powerful. This is why we're talking about this. This is why we're doing this. All of these forms and identities that you're attached to, you have become a slave to them. You really believe that's who you are. So you're absorbed in the character, in that particular story, and that particular unfolding, and that's what you think, that's what you believe, that's how you talk. You talk about all these things that are going wrong and how things are not happening, and you're totally consumed by that frame. Okay? We're pulling you out. Now you're nothing. So now the problems that you were entertaining, they don't even exist. Because you're nothing. Learn how to go into nothing when the ego is entertaining a false identity and a false reality. Okay? Why are we calling it a false identity and a false reality? Because it's not who you really are. Even the positive, abundant things that you could create, it's still not really who you are. It's vibrating at a frequency of your highest state of being as consciousness, which is love, but it's not really who you are, which is nothing. Really, you're just energy. So everything is a holographic simulation. It's just, do you enjoy it or not? If you want to enjoy it, you have to stop entertaining things that don't bring you joy. Okay? So you sit in this nothingness. You start recalibrating yourself into no attachment. Now, when we say no attachment, what we mean is you are not enslaved or shackled to old versions of yourself that are no longer the truth of what you prefer to experience. When you decide that you no longer prefer to experience an outdated version, you sit in the nothingness, you recalibrate to the truth of the energetic potential, and then you begin to activate the new version. Now, I want to explain a deep concept. The beautiful thing about accessing your 0 point wealth is that it really doesn't require you to do anything else. Most people assume that neutrality means, oh, but I might not get what I want if I'm neutral and I'm not specific. Well, no, that's not how the technology works. The technology of neutrality is that when I'm neutral, my ego is not involved and I was already going to get the highest thing anyways. Source was already going to organize the highest reality. So you see, when you go into that neutrality, your vibration starts to raise because there's no story. This is why meditation is so powerful. It slows down the momentum of thoughts. When the momentum of thoughts decrease, your true natural frequency begins to rise. The thoughts were vibrationally weighing you down. When they're not there anymore, you pop back up, okay, like a cork. So when you stop being enslaved by all of these forms and you go into the formlessness and you just know that your energy, the quantum field starts recalibrating and reshifting, reharmonizing into your highest timeline. I want to repeat that. When you stop being enslaved by outdated forms of yourself and you go back into the nothing, back into the pure I am, back into consciousness, back into raw energetic potential, your vibration raises and the quantum field begins to reorganize itself based on your new frequency. Okay, our scientists conducted a study, an experiment with quantum particles. The observer theory, you've probably heard about this. And What they found was when someone was observing quantum particles, the behavior shifted. So this is a tangible example when it comes to subatomic matter within the field, that based on whoever is observing, it will activate the chosen timeline. You see, energy is infinite, timelines are infinite. But when you observe, the timeline is selected based on your energy. So when you raise your vibration, the entire field begins responding to you differently, reorganizing itself, shifting matter, shifting atoms, particles, molecules, everything to rearrange into a more harmonic picture with this new vibration, this higher vibration. So you might be thinking at this point, Aaron, are you just saying I should meditate? Is that, did you go through all of this just to say I should just meditate? Oh yeah, you can meditate. That's a great way. But knowing when you are attaching to something that is an illusion is really what's going to give you power. I'm not that if I don't choose to be that. I'm energy. I'm pure possibility. I'm pure potential. And then you collapse back into the quantum. And then you decide, I want to be that. I am now that. I am now that. That is who I'm declaring and deciding that I want to be. That's what I would like my energetic potential to become as a creator, as consciousness. And you start morphing, you start transforming, you start fitting the mold of the new identity. Your true wealth, your true abundance is not that you need a specific condition in the physical. It's that you are already everything vibrationally, energetically speaking. And when you know that, it will override and overpower whatever these things are that you've created that you no longer enjoy. And thus, you begin to shift higher vibrating reflections, more love, more peace, more harmony, more fun, more expansion.